And welcome back, YouTube. And this time around, yes, more building. And as I said before, we are building something that's gonna be a bit heavier, a tad bit bigger. And I kinda made it that it would be the similar size as the last ship, but well, that is not gonna happen. Not with the guns that are this amount larger. I think I'm ending up at about 20,000 or so in volume, which is not exactly ideal, but yeah, well, it's something that I mean, it's a compromise, whether or not to show these guns in. And I did change these guns just a tiny bit from what you have last time seen them. Now they have that forward-facing thing, as you see at the front, and I moved the collision at the back end of the guns, and also all the hydraulic thingies are at the back end of the guns, and the front now has a layer of metal and also some ERA to potentially make them a bit more survivable. I'm not sure how well that's gonna work, but it should stop to at least a certain degree shape charge munition. Hopefully it will stop, it will work out very well. Most likely it will not. But it is slight bit of an improvement, at least in my opinion, without actually increasing the size of the guns by all that much. I mean, the guns are still the same toolness, so we could drop that block, we could, but yeah, is it worthwhile to lose a block there? And no. So I just decided to build it like this, and hopefully that will be just good enough. And yeah, the armor scheme, well, it does have some heavy armor on the inside, and then of course some metal around that interior, so it has double hull and stuff like that, so it will be fairly decently protected when it comes down to an armor standpoint. Not gonna be the best protected. I mean, if you would wanna really well protected, then the ship will be 30,000 in volume or so. And even then, as I said, shape charge munition can penetrate very deep into the ship hull, so I'm not completely sure how much does an actual metal armor helps. I mean, it definitely helps with cram cannons and high explosive shells. That's something that's really helpful. Armor penetration, I mean, the problem here is, like, you have like very specialized shells, like Sabat shells, and those things will just go through practically any amount of armor you may think of. So is there a point of building very heavy armor that will work, 50% of the times? I don't know. I'm not completely, convinced. I'd rather be more toward the all-around armor or something like that, but yeah, sure. The shield's gonna be stopping Sabots anyhow, so I don't really feel like the need to actually build a particularly thick armor on all around the vessel. At least, I mean, yeah, I mean, I get it. It could be useful in certain cases, but I don't think it would be that worthwhile. And it's something in all. It's just one of those things. The size of the ship and the weight and the volume and the speed depends on how much stuff you're gonna cram onto the ship. And I literally prefer having active defenses over, simply building a sturdy ship. Now the ship's still fairly sturdy, I suppose, but active defenses are just better. The armor in this game can get very easily negated. So, combination of them, will it work? Yes, 100%. Most likely not. Shields do get more shells that the shield takes, weaker it gets, until it doesn't, just let the shells through no matter what it shot at you. And in those cases, then you're having armor behind it. The armor could work, but as I said, I mean, shape charge munition will go straight through the armor, and that's one of the most common rounds used by the campaign ships. Sabot rounds are used on smaller guns quite a lot, but otherwise it's like fragmentation rounds are fairly frequent up as well. And it would be useful against that. That would be something that would be useful against. But otherwise, I don't know that many in-game ships that would not use stuff that would go straight through the armor, no matter how much you're having it. So yeah, I don't really consider. I mean, couple of layers of armor works just fine. Too many layers of armor, I consider just weighting down the ship. I'm like all in one of those profiles of all and nothing, where only specific parts of the ship actually gets proper amount of protection and the rest could be completely unarmored, in my opinion. So yeah, heavy armor around certain parts and the rest just metal or not even that. Kinda works fine for me, I suppose. Still, having some extra armor would not hurt. I mean, considering the size of the ship and how high in the water it's currently sitting, by the time we end up this video, we could actually place some extra armor and it wouldn't hurt the ship at all. Or at least I don't think it would hurt it. Yeah, we would have to do some testing on that. It's kinda hard to tell from time to time how much weight you can put before the ship starts sinking. But yeah. Also, for the videos that have been slightly bit odd lately, I mean in what it was, Sunday? I placed 2 videos up, and Saturday I placed none, and yesterday I placed none. Well, I'm having some odd internet like wiggle going on. It's just I placed a video in Saturday, it didn't get uploaded till like I think 14 hours later. Just like odd. And then I placed one video on Sunday and well, Saturday. Yeah, Sunday, and it got uploaded in just a couple of hours. So it was odd thing to happen. Yeah, to me. I mean, just incoherent how 2 similar sized videos got placed in were uploading at vastly different speeds for some other reason. And yesterday, yeah, I had a headache. I had a massive headache, so I went like straight to bed and slept over it. One of those things. I like 90% of the calls and stuff I just sleep over and it works for me. Yeah, but this ship is progressing. I think it's progressing fairly nice. It's gonna be a bit stout, short kind of ship, but I don't think that should be that much hurtful to the ship itself. I said that volume does help with the ship's survivability, but I will not particularly go for volume itself. You could, but yeah, I prefer that it's more clustered, I suppose. And it's also more kind of more streamlined at the same time. I mean, the other ships that we have built up to this part have that center section enlarged, but in this case the ship around the turret is already enlarged to the point where making further enlargement just wouldn't make any sense. So the sides of the ship, or the width, it's gonna pretty much be what it is at the moment. It does have a lot to do with how the ship is shaped. Downwards, I would usually shape them upwards, and that quite significantly change how wide the ship is over various sections, I suppose. But yeah, I think we're doing fairly decent job here, even though kinda off. But yeah, considering everything, I think it's fairly decent. Well, fairly decent. We still have to do a lot of things. This is not a single video build. It actually gonna take at least one more video, and I'm most likely gonna skip certain parts because they're gonna take just way too long. the shielding part, I'm not sure whether I'm not recording that. Because bigger the ship gets, more annoying that thing gets. Placing down shields. My bane of existence or something. But otherwise, yeah. It's not completely built, but by the end of this, it should be fair amount completed. Still lacking in certain aspects. But the shape is pretty much all there already. And we already placed, like, the center gun. The engines are my standard inline, you know, burn through fuel like stupid kind of engines, but they provide a lot of power, and that will, I suppose, help with later on placing on the shields and laser munition defense and stuff like that, which is on the size of this ship, it's kind of needed that you have those things. You can throw away a lot of other stuff on smaller things because you don't really expect them to survive for all that much. So, you know, putting a laser munition defense on a 5,000 volume ship might be considered a bit redundant, because it's gonna die to something anyway, and missiles don't actually do all that much in pure damage, if you wanna put it that way. So if you get like prolonged missile fire upon you, then yeah, a small ship will die relatively quickly, but otherwise it should be fine even without laser munition defense. On the other hand, bigger ships, the problem is pretty much getting your ship not killed but disabled by missiles. It can hit critical components on your ship and disables the guns and other stuff, especially if they're EMP. That's really, really nasty and very, very annoying at the same time. So you kind of want laser munition defense and stuff like that, just to keep your ship in the game as long as possible. At least that's, in my opinion, a good idea. But yeah, on the smaller vessels, well, you expect them to get destroyed, no, then they will get destroyed, I suppose. Also, yeah, now I think about it, when I labeling my ships, currently like destroyers, cruisers and stuff like that, and I'm giving them pretty much that sort of names, you may wonder why the size of the ship, why I'm naming them at that point. Well, it's pretty much, it comes down to the size and limits of the game. The game limit is not in material, is not in actual material used or anything like that. I mean, if you're looking at the campaign, at the start the material is somewhat of a problem, but later on it pretty much comes down to a problem of volume, not material. Material becomes a non-issue at some point, and you can build whatever type of ship, or no matter how expensive the ship is, you can most likely build it. But it's the volume. I mean, in a battle you can get a 50,000 volume for both sides, which pretty much means that if you're going like over 30,000 in volume, that's gonna be the only ship that gets into the game. So anything in over 30,000 I would pretty much class as a battleship. And then, you know, 20 to 30,000, that would be pretty much very heavy cruisers, or, you know, small battleships or something like that. Then at 10 to 20,000 it would be cruiser type vessels, some potentially large destroyer kind of tanks as well, and everything below that would either be destroyer or a frigate. So yeah, that's how I consider classification in the game, and it's pretty much just based off the current volume limitations that exist in battles on a campaign map. I mean, you wanna put more, I think there is a way to actually increase that volume size, but I don't really see the point of doing that. Yeah, so yeah, that's why I consider certain things cruisers, destroyers, or battleships. It's just volume limitation, nothing else. If it would be, you know, a material limitation, then I would consider that, but it's not material limitation, it's not block limitation, it's volume limitation. That's why I constantly speak about volume this, volume that when building ships. And that's just what's gonna be. Yeah, and slightly with testing that my guns are actually turning around, or at least the big guns are turning around. It's not. These ships definitely are not like the best of their class, I suppose, but they will do their job. And me just deciding that why the heck I even have the rear turret like that. Let's just copy the front one, and well, it works. Yeah, if you're too lazy to build an actual turret for every single gun, just copy. And this ship will also end up having quite a number of secondaries. I'm gonna place one here and a couple more to the sides. And these guns are guns we already seen before. The back gun is actually from our it's that 201mm gun, as it is on the first CLCA, and the one of the side guns are from the cruisers, and then those smaller anti-air guns are yet again from the first CHCL, which is the anti-aircraft weaponry, I suppose. I think it's gonna be having even a bit too many guns, I suppose, for its size. For the size of the vessel, as in length, rather than actual volume in this case. Kind of makes it look a bit odd, in my opinion. But I mean, it's the size of the ship in volume this time around that I consider it's inappropriate to have that amount of guns. Even though most likely not the most advised thing to have a plethora of guns like that. I would say it's better to have a couple of very powerful weapons than having a tremendous amount of very small, tiny guns all over the place. At least that's in my opinion. I mean, it also depends on how the ship is built, and because I'm trying to build them up to one style of this downward sloping hull, and at the same time also trying to make them look as much as, proper ships. I think that's that conflict there going on, where I'm just taking somewhat of the best approach from the two, I suppose. Well, the best approach. I'm most likely sure that somebody could do it better. It's definitely somebody could do it better. Oh, but yeah, I mean, the properties of simply building good enough. Yeah. Should have strived for better, but I simply don't. And here it is, placing like the first front guns here. Well, front guns, side guns, the mini turrets onto the side. And as you can see, it's already getting the shape of being somewhat stout and very streamlined. No, it is. That's not that shouldn't be the problem. I don't even know how to call it in this case. But it is keeping one of the same width of the vessel as it was, at the start of the build, pretty much following up the turrets. Where other of these types were actually being wider down the center than they were then at the front and the back end. But in this case, there's just so much space already available on the ship that doing something like that, I don't think it's necessary, and I'm pretty sure it would be most likely counterproductive up as well. I mean, it's debatable, I suppose, that how much of an extra width would help here, but especially with the rest of the side guns, as I'm gonna place a couple of extra. But yeah, it's a bit stout. Just a tiny bit stout. kind of tiny one, a bit bothers me, but not to an extent where I would actually go and lengthen it out or something like that. Might do it later on. Gonna see how I gonna feel about it. Yeah, very coherent building from my side, I must say. Oh yeah, and I'm pretty much deciding how to gonna place those side guns there, and I just kinda decided on this small bit of a clip jump due to I actually went and tested the guns that are loading properly and firing properly, and yeah, they are. So didn't actually had any AI on the yet, so I didn't feel like worth it to be recording every single part of that. I would still recommend, if you're building a ship, test it out. Gonna save yourself some grief when your guns stop firing and you have absolute no idea why. And actually here I didn't have a copy of these guns in the prefab, not the prefab, in the sub-object file, so I just copied the ship, the entire ship, loaded into the designer, and pretty much just copied the guns straight off them, and yeah, works. It works, yes. It's kind of, yet again, a bit more vulnerable position for these guns, as the actual autoloaders are sticking out of the hull, and they will not be as well protected at the top as I would want them to be, but at the same time I do not want to make the ship any wider, as I said before. I kind of find it that streamline of the front guns to be a bit more approachable for a gun of ship of this size. Now, I also said, I mean, the ship is currently at about, I think it's 17 or 18,000 in volume or something like that, but I expected that it's gonna go past 20,000. Not something that I would be particularly happy about, but well, it did happen, and I'm not that disappointed in it either. I mean, it's kind of stout for its size, but well, that's about that. And these top guns here are kind of squeezed up together, which will kind of force me to do some odd things to my command center. Well, command center. What is it already? The cabin. Yes, that's the cabin, gonna be a bit more squeezed out. I do want to have that top-sided cabin mount on pretty much all of my ships. It's just something I want to have, and I'm gonna build it like that. Not really necessary. I could potentially just build it either in the hull or somehow else, but I just like to have that, command post, I suppose, at the top of the ship, rather than stuck in somewhere in the hull and and not being visible or anything. Maybe if I build like a really tiny design ship that would be more of a drone than anything else, then I would go with that, but I just like my cabins. I'm just gonna build my cabin on top of the ship and that's it. Even if that cabin comes a bit tall like it does in this case, I consider it okay, just so that I have that, you could say, looks on the vessel. Which is completely unnecessary, but it doesn't hurt the ship either. I mean, if they kill you in the game, if the ship is still alive, then it's not really that much of a concern, is it? Or at least not in my opinion. Shooting down for the player, it's kind of a waste of a time. But yeah, I'm gonna die. If I'm riding in the ship, I'm most likely gonna die a lot. But I don't consider that to be a problem. It's just until the ship still keeps on working, I don't really care if I die. So yeah, gonna build the top-mounted command centers on pretty much every single of my vessels. That's simply how it's going to be. And yeah, I'm building here what will be our laser munition defense, I suppose, or at least the center mounted one parts. of the laser munition defense. Didn't really yet build any proper lasers inside the hull to actually accommodate for those, but will someday in the next video, I suppose, in the next episode of building up this thing. That will most likely be the case. And as you can see here, because the ship is kind of stout, as I said before, I'm kind of running a bit out of space on where to place everything I wanted on this vessel. So, this is gonna be a fun habit. So I decided to, like, we first need to figure out how the exhaust from the engine is gonna go, because I want my exhaust to be outside of the vehicle, and I don't want it to go like straight through the hull or something like that. Or build it underneath the turrets, which does surprisingly work. If you build your exhaust underneath the turret, you actually get externally vented them, even though the turret is in the way, which is... I have no idea what's with that, but it does work, so you could easily do it like that. But I decided I want a funnel, or at least something of an exhaust of the vessel that's gonna combine them all in one go. And because the engines here are actually placed in the reverse order as they are on other ships, that means that the engine is placed a bit more forward. So I'm gonna have to kind of extend here the piping down. And unfortunately that comes right at the top of the ammunition, which I didn't really consider it at the start when I started building this exhaust, but how much of a weak spot this is gonna actually be on the ship, I can't really tell. I mean, in fight with other battleships, or ships period, I don't think it's gonna be that much of a problem. But against aircrafts, planes, or airships, stuff like that, this may actually be quite of a weak point where the opponent may shoot, and it may get all the way to the ammo compartment, which would be quite annoying, I suppose. The minimum of annoying, because I mean it's a weak spot, no matter how I look at it. It just could have moved the ammo customizer somewhere else and place some more metal across it. That could work, but well, I'm gonna leave it up for now. It's we're gonna see if that's gonna be a problem, and we're gonna up armor it later if need be. But yeah, that's kind of the shape of the ship that I'm currently taking with. It's not particularly good-looking ship, I suppose, but it's workable. It has guns all around, which is the one thing I wanted, to have a lot of guns. It doesn't yet have any missiles. Torpedoes are also not yet counted. There is quite a lot of stuff missing. And well, here I am yet again placing the propulsion for rolls, because the ship is leaning to the sides, and I don't want to be building stuff for a bit too long, I suppose. So I just place the rotors and name them left, right, and just put in a PID for rolling purposes, so the ship will be as stable as possible. So and overall, I don't think it's gonna be a particularly good ship. It's gonna be most definitely relative slow ship, I suppose. I mean, we already seen that with the rest of the ship's design in this manner, that they couldn't go past, what, 13 meters a second or something like that. So I don't expect that this ship gonna be particularly faster or anything, but I think it's gonna be fair amount workable. Still, yeah, in the next episode we're gonna pretty much place laser munition defense, the AI, the shielding. Well, I'm most likely gonna skip the shielding, and the rest of the stuff that the ship needs to properly operate in dangerous waters that are in the campaigns. But yeah, this is gonna be it for this episode. So yeah, hope you like it. See ya.